let's talk about a fundamental challenge with artificial intelligence. It isn't really a problem of power or capability. It's a problem of design.
The AI models we have today are incredibly powerful. There's no doubt about that. But they're also trapped in this kind of gilded cage. We treat them like software. We train them, we give them a version number, and then we deploy them. And what you get is a powerful tool, for sure, but it's fundamentally static. It really is like a brain in a server rack. All is potential, but it's completely cut off from the real dynamic world where things actually happen. And this static approach, well, it has some serious limitations. Think about it. These models learn from a giant snapshot of text, not from actual experience. They have no real-world consequences for being wrong. If a model makes a mistake, it costs it absolutely nothing, and if it needs to learn something new, you have to do a complete and hugely expensive retraining. This whole process naturally concentrates power in the hands of just a few big companies.
So this brings us to the crucial point. Intelligence isn't just about making a prediction. True intelligence is really about what happens after the prediction. It's the ability to change your beliefs when reality proves you wrong, especially when there are actual stakes involved. Real intelligence isn't built, it evolves.
So this all leads to a different approach. What if instead of engineering a static object, the goal was to cultivate an evolving system? Well, that vision is the foundation for a project called Nebula.
Now, Nebula isn't just another large language model. It's designed to be a whole new kind of biology for AI, a decentralized, self-sustaining ecosystem where intelligence can actually emerge and evolve on its own, kind of like a living system. Nebula's purpose isn't to just predict the next word in a sentence. It's a system designed to handle belief itself. It's meant to learn how confidence, both from us and from machines, actually maps to what's true in the real world. It studies things like disagreement, error, and correction as its primary learning signals. And this part is absolutely critical. Because of this, Nebula can't just be launched as some kind of oracle or authority. Its whole purpose is to learn, not to declare truth.
Okay, so how do you grow something like Nebula? Well, it can't just grow in a vacuum. It needs a very specific kind of environment, a sort of greenhouse, if you will, that provides exactly the right nutrients. And those nutrients are a type of data that simply doesn't exist yet. And that's why, before Nebula can really start to evolve, another system has to be built first. That system is Predict.Voxsigil.
First, Predict is a belief capture system. It's built to record not just what people think is going to happen, but also the reasoning why they believe it, and exactly how confident they are. This whole process turns our messy human reasoning into structured, clean data.
Second, it's a belief resolution system. And this part is non-negotiable. Every single testable claim made inside Predict has a clear, guaranteed, and transparent way of being settled by a real-world outcome. There are no vague questions left hanging.
And third, it's a belief audit system. The entire journey of a belief, from the moment it's created through all the debates and changes of mind to its final outcome, is recorded permanently and can be audited by anyone. This gives you a completely transparent record of how beliefs actually change and why.
And what's so crucial here is that you just can't fake this kind of data. You can't generate it synthetically. The signal that matters comes from real commitment. It has to be generated by real people putting real stakes behind their beliefs.
So when you put these three systems together, they create what we call closed epistemic loops. You can just think of this as the fundamental engine that turns messy, real-world human belief into clean, high-signal data that an AI can actually learn from. So here's how that cycle works. It all starts when a testable prediction is made. Then, people commit to an outcome, and they have to state how confident they are. After that, there's discussion, where people share why they think what they think. They challenge each other, and they refine their ideas. Then comes the most important step. A real-world event happens, and the claim gets a definitive resolution. And finally, the system can learn. It can look at who is right, when, and with what level of confidence. This is the loop that transforms belief into auditable data. This isn't just a theory, right? It's a really practical system where every prediction, every argument, and every final outcome feeds directly into a structured learning process. It creates this incredibly clean pipeline from human reasoning straight to the AI.
So at launch, the roles of these two systems are going to be very, very distinct. Predict is the arena. It generates and resolves claims. Nebula, on the other hand, just watches. It observes and analyzes the data that Predict is creating, but it does not intervene. This separation is fundamental for building trust and for preventing Nebula from becoming this premature and therefore false authority. Now, to maintain that kind of integrity for the long haul, A project this ambitious needs a really carefully thought-out funding model, one that's designed to protect its core mission above all else.
So let's be direct about this. For Nebula to evolve, it's going to need significant, sustained computing power. This first fundraiser is for a very specific, tangible goal: to build the dedicated AI research server that will be its first home. The long-term plan, though, is for the Predict platform itself to eventually fund Nebula's growth through platform fees. The whole point is to create a self-sustaining cycle that's independent of outside pressures.
And that independence is everything. The system's incentives have to stay aligned with the goal of cultivating honest intelligence. That means no advertising, no selling of user data, and no pressure from venture capital to chase short-term profits. The mission has to come first, period.
So let's bring all this together. What is it that's actually being built here?
This whole project is really about a fundamental shift in perspective. It's not about trying to engineer a single, smarter machine. It's much more like gardening. It's about carefully creating the right conditions, the substrate. You could even call it a primordial soup, from which a true artificial evolution can begin.
And this distinction is so critical. Predict is not a betting app with some AI features tacked on later. It's an environment, engineered from the ground up to create the exact conditions of pressure and real-world feedback that are necessary for intelligence to actually form. Predict is the greenhouse, Nebula is the organism that we hope will grow inside it.
And that leads us to the final, and maybe the most important point. Supporting this project isn't like buying a product off the shelf. It's about contributing to the construction of the very conditions that are necessary for a more honest, a more grounded, and an evolving form of intelligence to emerge. It's about helping to build the greenhouse itself.